Have you ever wondered if a $4,000 rooftop tent is worth it? Well, I spent that much money on a Desert Armor Tank XL, and I'm gonna show you my journey with this tent so you can judge for yourself. For the last 3 years, Kate and I have been using the Smittybilt Overlander XL as our family rooftop tent. If you want to know more about that tent, we did a review after the first 50 nights or so, and you can click on that video right up here on top. So the reason that Kate and I wanted to move away from a soft shell tent like the Smittybilt is just because of the setup and tear down and the dirt and dust that happened with all the straps and covers and all that stuff. It was just getting to the point where we wanted something a little more simple and a little faster. So we started searching for rooftop tents. And the one that I found that I was the most interested in was the Desert Armor Tank XL. Now this tent is really, really, really cool, especially on the spec sheet. So it's got an aluminum shell, it's got a rack on top, and I'm gonna go through all that stuff with you so you can see for yourself. But it's the reason that we chose to fork out a lot of money for this tent. So I'm gonna walk you through everything I know so far. We'll go through the delivery, the unboxing, first impressions, the install, and then we take it out on a shakedown trip, and I share my first impressions with you after having the family in it for the first time. So stay tuned. When we bought the tent, it was in stock, but Desert Armor only has freight pickup every so often, so it still took about 2 weeks to get my tent, but from what I hear, that's not too bad these days. I paid an extra $150 for curbside delivery, and the guys were awesome. They wheeled it into my garage and let me take some time to inspect it before accepting it, because once you accept it, no refunds. I was super excited when I finally got to open it up and share my true first impressions. So let's lift it open here. There it is. So nicely packed. I don't see any scratches on it. Some foam to protect it. Oh, look at this baby. I am so excited. So it has this rack on top of it that holds a certain amount of weight. I think it holds like 150 pounds on top. So that creates some flexibility for like, for on a trip, like gas cans can go up here, like Rotopac's gas cans. Solar panels, all kinds of stuff can come up here, so I'm super excited about that. And the mattress size, it's 75 inches wide, which is the same width as our Smittybilt Overlander XL. So we're not losing any width, which is like, you know, the four of us sleeping next to each other. So that's really great. It is a little bit shorter, but that's just because that Smittybilt Overlander XL is massive. It's like 92 inches long. And I think this is closer to maybe 83 inches long, but that's still plenty of length for us to sleep in this tent. So I'm going to continue to unbox this thing and see what we find. First impressions. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking tent. I mean, I haven't even got all the way out, and I love the way it looks. I've been really wanting something like this for the Jeep. We're gonna lift this thing up and see what it looks like underneath. Okay, so I've got it up on the hoist, on the winch now, and first impressions. So overall, really, really positive. Definitely, I think, you know, there are some things, just because it's aluminum, you can see some of the variations in the metal a little bit. You can see that there. There's just little things like that around some of the corners. You know, it's not exactly perfect. There is some kind of bending as kind of the metal has been welded together, kind of conforms to the angles and things. But none of this is enough to make me think that it's poor craftsmanship. I think that's just the way it is when you're doing some metal work. So I can see I wouldn't call them blemishes, maybe they're blemishes in here. So I don't love that. Truth be told, functionality is gonna be more important than aesthetics. But, you know, seeing stuff like this, just like, I don't really know enough to know if that's a big deal or not. I'm just seeing it for the first time, that's all, first impressions. And, you know, this tent's not cheap. This baby was like $4,000. And so it's a lot of money for us to be spending on a tent. So I really want it to be great. So these latches, go underneath and attach to a hook that keeps it down. It's almost like the hood latch to a Jeep. And then there's some Velcro straps. It's just a simple Velcro strap that comes back here. We got both of those off, so let's see. This thing opens up. There it is. Opened up for the first time. Looks like there's the strap to kind of keep everything in. It's just kind of loosely tied here. And then I really like that it has this ladder cover. Not quite a ladder bag, but it's a ladder cover that it looks like it Velcros in, kind of keep it down. I love that because it's one of the things in our Smittybilt that gets really dirty. And when it gets really dirty, that dirt gets on top of the tent on the bottom side, but then it because of the way these tents fold, that dirt makes its way onto the mattress. It falls down here, gets underneath the mattress, and so it's great that this has a little bit of protection to keep some of that dirt from getting into the mattress. I do want to show a couple things that I like. Number one, this rainfly is pretty heavy duty, and yeah, it's a serious rainfly, which I like. Go to the tent. Here you've got the mattress. I like the sheet that's on the mattress. Gives it some nice. It's nice and soft. And then underneath this, I really like this. There is a anti-condensation mat that comes with it. This is, I don't know, maybe it's a 2.5 inch. I think it's a 2.5 inch foam mattress, which is okay. I was just laying in there. Feels a little firm, but I don't feel like I'm hitting the floor, which is nice. That anti-condensation mat does provide just like a little bit more cushion. It probably doesn't look like a lot of space on camera, but it's 75 inches wide, which is the same amount of space that we have in our Smittybilt, so it feels plenty wide. It does feel a little bit shorter though. Like, you know, I'm gonna scoot all the way up there with my pillow and sleep, and my feet are going to be, you know, pretty close to the zipper down here at the end of the tent. So that's gonna be a change, but I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. I think that that's just a luxury space that we have now and almost wasted space. So now I gotta figure out how to get it mounted. Once I get it mounted, I'll go through the features a little bit more in depth. So one of the things about having a Rhino rack is that the bars go lengthwise of the Jeep, and almost all rooftop tents have bars that go the same direction, and you want them to go opposite direction. So before I lift this thing up and put it on top of the Jeep, I'm gonna open it up and see how to take those mounting bars off, cut them, and put them running horizontally. So they'll be running essentially the same way that roof rack is running. That's the mounting bars will be running that way.
After repositioning the mounting bars, the rest of the install was pretty straightforward. It's just washers and bolts. Desert Armor does a nice job including sturdy install components. However, if you're using a Rhino Rack Pioneer platform like me, the planks on the platform are too wide, so I had to cut some custom metal strips. Here's a pro tip. If you're like me and you like to take your tent on and off a lot, you might consider using these big wing nuts that you can hand tighten. I got these from the Home Depot. They're lawnmower handle wing nuts, and they probably save me 10 to 20 minutes each time I take the tent off or put it on.
Here's the new Desert Armor tank, fully deployed, and I have finally been able to mount my Big Country 4x4 Ostrich Junior 270-degree awning, and we're gonna give this a shakedown tomorrow. But for right now, it took a little work, but we got it all on there. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm gonna jump in really quick and share something that happened with Desert Armor before we get to the shakedown trip review. So shortly after I got the tent, I discovered that it was not 75 inches wide like it said on the website. Now this is a big difference to me because 5 inches is like half of a kid. So I had bought a tent that was smaller than I thought it was for $4,000. Now I shared this with Desert Armor, and to their credit, they updated the website so it shows the correct dimensions or more correct dimensions. That was disappointing, but it didn't stop me from looking at all the good things about this tent and giving it a totally balanced opinion after our shakedown trip, which is what we're gonna get to right now. So I'm driving on the interstate now, going about 70 miles an hour with the new Desert Armor Tank XL rooftop tent, and I'm still hearing a bunch of whistling. I don't know if you can hear it. but there's some whistling, and I think it's coming from the tent, which is super disappointing because it looks like it's aerodynamic. Maybe it's the rack that's on top of it or something that's making that whistling noise, but my old Smittybilt basically looked like a Lego block. It was not aerodynamic at all, and yet it didn't make any wind noise. This thing looks to be very aerodynamic, but it's making all kinds of wind noise, so who knows?
So we tested it out on the trail. By the way, this trip video is either on the channel now or will be soon. This tent is listed at 155 pounds, which is only 10 pounds heavier than my Smittybilt. That's crazy considering it's got an aluminum shell. And with my new Ostrich Junior awning being 12 pounds less than my old OVS, I actually shed 2 pounds of weight off my rack. Where this tent and others like it really shines though is the setup. It's exponentially faster, easily 10 times faster than my Smittybilt. This takes so much stress out of setting up camp. So I took some time after my first night to reflect on my first impressions after having used it with the family.
Come on, I'm gonna show you inside our new Desert Armor tent. One of our concerns has been the space inside. We're a family of 4 and we're a growing family of 4. And this tent is a little bit smaller than our Smittybilt tent. So let's go take a look at how much space there is inside. The zippers are really nice. All that stuff really matters when you use your tent as much as we do. On our Smittybilt, I will say that the zippers, I started to worry about them over time. These are much heavier duty, so I'm happy with those. Come on in. So one of the things that I love about the inside of this tent is that there's a lot of headroom. So this shell is 55 or 56 inches. And so when you tilt it up, you've got that much headroom up here, which is more than we had before. And it's in a good spot. So like when you're sleeping in here, it feels like a bigger tent because you've got all this headroom right here. So that is a huge benefit, huge upgrade for us. Like I said before, the materials in the tent they seem to be higher quality, just thicker canvas, nicer tape seams, just all around really, really nice. I love that there's these little attachment points so you can have some bags hanging. We haven't really figured out how to use these yet, but the most important thing about any tent is like, how do you sleep? Can you fit? So this tent is 5 inches shorter than our Smittybilt tent. And I will be honest with you and tell you, I didn't know that when I bought it. In fact, the website at Desert Armor said it was a different length. They made a mistake. And you might think, oh, it's just 5 inches, but that's like half a kid. And our kids are not getting smaller. If you've ever seen Emerson, the kid is growing like a weed. So it's a concern for us. So last night was our first night as a family in this tent. And I will tell you, you can see there's enough space for our sleeping bags that we all fit, which was a total relief for us. But if you're looking at this tent for your family, just keep in mind, 70 inches is like just enough. It's just enough for us, and our kids at this time of making this video are 6 and 9 years old. So that's just good to know. Let's talk about the mattress in here. This is another one that I was a little disappointed on because it says that it's a 2-inch high density foam mattress on the Desert Armor website. And you can't find this stuff out until you get the tent. You can't you just have to believe what they say online, and companies make mistakes. This is only 1.5 inches, and I don't know what constitutes high density foam, but I don't think this is it. However, one thing that's really, really great is the anti-condensation mat that goes underneath. It's fantastic. It actually really helps give you a little extra padding. So when you sink down on the mattress, you're not hitting the aluminum floor, you're hitting that anti-condensation mat, which has a little bit of sponginess to it. So, you know, overall it was more firm than our Smittybilt because we had added a layer of padding to that one. But it was not something that I didn't wake up in the middle of the night like with my hips hurting or something because I'd been laying on a aluminum pad. Okay, the last thing I want to mention about the inside of this tent is that it has this big skylight, and good and bad. What's great about the skylight is you can open it up. There's a big, huge screen here, but there's a rainfly on top of it. Now, the good news is the rainfly has a clear plastic covering on it, so you get the sunlight coming in, as you can see now. But you don't get, like, it's not fresh air coming in here. It has to kind of come in under the rainfly to get any fresh air. And you can't just have kind of this whole thing open air unless you take the rainfly off. That's pretty common with these tents. So I don't think that makes this tent any better or worse than another tent this style. It's just what you get because the rainflies on these are kind of always on unless you like take them off, roll them up, and you can pin it up here so it's off. But To be fair, I like having the rain fly on because it gives you a little bit of extra shade and coverage when you're climbing up the ladder. So, but nice skylight. Just wish it was an actual open air skylight. Okay, we're gonna break this thing down and see how it packs in. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting everything to the back of the tent, because the way this thing folds in is like 2/3 of it folds down here, and so this is the space that you have to kind of pack your stuff in, and you want it to be as packable as possible. So we have these sleeping bags and pillows that compress down pretty good, and so I think this is going to do the trick. Let's see. So then we just have these 2 tension rods. You can literally just throw in there. And then I'm just going to zip up the door and start breaking it down. Okay, so then we just push it up. And hopefully everything fits. It's a little airtight, so I'm just going slowly because the air is like slowly escaping from the tent. Yep, we're getting pretty flat up there. So next I'm just going to compact the ladder, pull everything in, and I think we'll be done. So one thing I don't quite understand yet are these cinch straps on the side. I don't really understand how they work or why they're there. They're really, really long, and they're kind of a mess when I'm trying to set up or tear down. So I need to figure out what that's about. But in general, I mean, it's just like, it's like a pull and tuck operation. You pull it and you tuck it. And compared to a soft shell tent, even though you do have to do a little bit of extra work to get the canvas inside the hard shell, it's still super easy because you're not dealing with that soft cover that's got dust all over it, or straps that you're like throwing over the top and climbing up and down over and over and over again. So even though I don't love tucking this stuff in, it's still a lot easier. And there's just these tension straps, which I wish were a little bit longer or positioned a little bit differently to actually get the lid to close more. I'm used to the soft shell where you can just like wrench it down, and this one not so much. So it's just something to get used to. So here's one thing that I kind of like but mostly don't like, which is locked latches. And it's nice that you can lock them, I guess, but if you ever lose your keys, you're screwed, because it's the only way these things stay closed. If you don't lock them, they don't close at all, which I don't like, just because I'm prone to forgetting my keys places at times. And if I am not really careful with these and like always have a set in the Jeep at all times, no matter what, there's a chance that we could be out someplace and I won't be able to open the tent and we'll be driving home at night or something like that. So, I mean, I guess it's nice you can lock them, but I'm not really worried about anybody breaking into my rooftop tent and, I don't know, stealing my sleeping bags or something. So, I don't know. In summary, would I spend $4,000 on this rooftop tent again today? Well, the answer right now is a strong maybe. The jury is not quite in yet for me. There is a lot to love about this tent, and we are gonna put it through its paces. So this summer, we're gonna go on a lot of trips, long trips, remote trips, complicated trips, and we're really gonna understand the value of this tent. And we're gonna share all of that with you as we go, and then we'll do a long-term review at the end of that as well. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please consider doing so. We really value every single subscriber, and we are grateful for your support. So, until next time, I'm Will, this is Venture to Rome. Thanks for watching.